Hello again. So I made one video about ghosting quite a while ago, and another video that showed an issue that is not quite resolved about a comment I made with a video on a Doom game. So why was that comment not visible? I don't know. Could be YouTube. I saw on my own videos that two comments from long ago were not visible because I had not reviewed them, but it says that YouTube removed them after 60 days. I removed them from visibility. Why? If they're visible for 60 days, why are they suddenly invisible? It's just stupid. It's also just wasting everyone's time, not giving any respect to people using this site to not show, for example, your comment is under review or your comment is not visible because it's not allowed or whatever. But they don't do that. And I made a comment which is useful in general about the overview of events that happened that show exactly what is going on in Ukraine by Russia, by Putin is happening, and the approximate timeline. And it was with the Times Radio video here. The West should have been harder on Putin after Russia's annexation of Crimea. William Hague. Yeah, he was empowered at the time. He should have known better. Everyone should have known better. If you're in politics, if you're in international politics, then you should have known in 2007 and 2008, definitely. 2014, absolutely clear to everyone. So don't tell me we should have been harder. Yeah, he should have been harder. And it was not hindsight. It was already clear then. To me, it was clear. I was an outsider. I was not interested in politics. I knew it. I knew Putin is a psychopath in 2014 when I first really noticed him, because he was of no interest to me. Politics is of no interest to me. I was interested in Ukraine since 2011, and I went there in 2012 for the first time, and so everything to me was clear in 2014 when I noticed him. I also saw the people in embassies who came on videos, for example, talking on the German TV channels on YouTube. I think I watched them, but could have also been on TV when I visited a relative, because I don't have TV at home myself. I don't watch TV. It was clear to me that a huge number of people in Russia in politics are psychopaths. Putin himself, of course, he has no emotions, no facial expressions. That's a clear example. But it's also a problem in other countries to a somewhat lesser degree. But I will first tell you this overview because it's interesting, I think. This is an overview of what exactly is happening. So some people commented, for example, with the video that it's not useful to look back, but it is useful because you need to learn. You need to know what to change, and it's especially important to know how to deal with psychopaths, with bullies. And that's obviously not done correctly, and the politicians, for some reason, do not understand how to do this and how to recognize this. It's absolutely unbelievable, even though it's been going on for ages. This is not just now. This is in the 1950s, 40s, earlier. It's all through time. All right, let's see what's going on. So this comment is not visible when I log in. When I'm not logged in here on this video, it says 94 comments. It's been 94 comments for ages. It doesn't change. I made this comment actually 2 hours ago, more than 2 hours ago, and for some reason it's gone. But it was here. So I wanted to show you two of these comments, and both not visible. So it says here 94 comments. Still okay. Let's reload. Still 94 comments. And this, my latest was a short summary. I thought, okay, let's make it this and see if this gets through. Doesn't get through. 30 minutes ago. Still not visible here because it's still... Yeah, let's check. A few seconds. No. Wait. No, that was the end. No, it's not visible. It's still not visible here. Here I'm not logged in. So, this is 45 minutes ago. The first was more than 2 hours ago. Not visible. This is 30 minutes ago. Not visible. So what happened in 2000 up to now with Russia and Ukraine? So early 2000s, Putin wanted to join NATO, but only on his terms. It was very interesting. Then you already knew what he was like. Georgia wants to join NATO. That was before 2008. Ukraine wants to join NATO, also before. Note that you cannot join NATO while in a state of conflict. 2007. Putin gives a speech about the demise of the Soviet Union being the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. That is number 2. Absolutely clear what he's like and what he wants. So first that he wants to join NATO only on his terms, and then this. Ukraine is not allowed to join NATO with grains thanks to Angela. I already knew it, Merkel. I will explain why I say this later. Putin invades Georgia, this making 2 impossible. Georgia can't join NATO. Gas deposits found in Ukraine in Crimean waters. That'll become important later. Strong protest against the Russian-leaning regime in Ukraine. Yanukovych flees to Russia. Regime in Ukraine becomes Western-leaning, aimed to the West. So they want to possibly join the EU, they want to join NATO, but that was already going on for a long time, of course, the desire to join NATO. Putin annexes Crimea. Why? There are several reasons. It makes it impossible for Ukraine to join NATO, and of course, after Yanukovych flees to Russia and the regime change, that becomes an issue for him. Otherwise, up until that point, it was absolutely not necessary for Russia to take Crimea or anything else because they were like best buddies. So Crimea prevents number 3. Ukraine cannot get into NATO. Grabs the gas reserves, which would have made Ukraine, like Russia, having a lot of income from gas, independent from Russia. That's not something you would want. The regime is already independent, and then financially they become independent. No. Of course, they also want to have Sevastopol, the warm water port in the Black Sea. So they have some agreements for long-term lease of the harbor that they how do you call it, rented, leased from Ukraine. But now they have everything for free. So 3 is now impossible. Ukraine going into NATO. What happened next? Criminals in the Donbass have been indoctrinated for years with ongoing Russian propaganda against Ukraine, about language, about Bandera. That's something I will discuss in another video, how it works, how this propaganda works. It has been going on for ages. I mentioned a woman I knew from Crimea, from Yalta, and after the invasion of the takeover by Russia of Crimea, she suddenly wrote to me various messages about everything she disliked about Ukraine, blah blah blah, Bandera, blah blah blah. And I thought, wait, what the hell is going on? Why is suddenly this extremely annoying criticism annoying to me? Because it was like someone giving a tirade about Ukraine. Before that, never, no criticism ever. If someone asks me about the Netherlands, for example, then I will say what I don't like about it, what I like about it. But I'm not suddenly going to change my story. But that is because probably she didn't want others to push others away with them. But that's another story. So there's been indoctrination going on. These criminals grabbed weapons, including heavy weapons, tanks, grabbed power, shot at the Ukrainian military. So you have a civil war. So yeah, even if internationally it would be accepted that the annexation of Crimea would have been accepted, then this situation in Donbass would make it impossible for Ukraine to join NATO. There was a very weak response by the West, although sanctions have hindered Russia up to now. And what I also mentioned in another video is that Russia has not been able at all in any useful sense to become independent. That's what they claimed on the Dutch NOS articles or videos on their website. So that's the Dutch state media. They had, I remember at least 2 articles about, we're becoming more independent, blah blah blah. Nothing of any significance was independent in Crimea and Russia. They're dependent on just about everything advanced on the West. Germany, after this invasion and the annexation of Crimea, continues with Nord Stream 2 with lots of German politicians and former politicians connected to the Russian energy sector. Being in those companies as a director or some board of whatever. Russian military is active in the Donbass in 2014, supplying weapons to separatists, denied by Russia, but facts from the displayed vehicles in Kiev near the Russian so there's Rodina Mat, that's the large statue. There's a museum below that, and just outside there were vehicles displayed in 2016, and I saw those, and they stated with those that the origin of the materials, of the components, for example, that showed all that they were made recently, and thus that all the stuff was coming from Russia. Of course, you have also the tracing of vehicles and people was clear. I mean, from the MH17 investigation. And in 2022, a Russian soldier indirectly admitted it at the start of the war. He admitted a few days after the war started. There was some interview with a guy who said that it had been 8 years since he'd been in action. And that means, of course, he was in action in 2014. And that means he was in action in the Donbass. So the Russian military guys shot down MH17. Why? Because they are incompetent, which is what you see every day of the year in 2022, 2023. So that's no longer something. They wouldn't do that. They would be so stupid. Yes, they would be that stupid because they are that stupid all the time. 2022, we have the current situation. Russia invades Ukraine. And end of 22, that psychopath Merkel claims she knew all along that you could not change Putin's mind. I've seen such people do the same in other situations. For example, airport Schiphol, there was a psychopath in charge for 10 years or so. I criticized him on my website. I was the only one who dared do it before he admitted that he lied about certain things. I already said that. And he claimed, after he quit, that he already knew that adding one landing strip would not have any effect on noise pollution. That's complete bullshit. Of course he knew. He says it after, I knew it all along, but I went along with it because others think, that's complete nonsense. He's just a liar. And Merkel is someone I can also not stand. Expressionless face. Probably a psychopath or very close to it. There was a weak response in 2022 to requests to give Ukraine tanks and aircraft with stupid arguments about self-defense given by countries, and supported by inane YouTubers such as Military History Visualized, which I mentioned before. That is a know-it-all, which means he has an antisocial personality, which means he's incompetent, because all antisocial people are incompetent because they cannot reason properly. But he's a good example of their mindset. Because against whom are you going to use this tank? For example, the UK. What are you going to use those tanks for? Against Ireland? Against Scotland? Against Spain? Against China? Come on. And even more so for all the countries in the mainland Europe. What are you going to use that tanks against? Belgium? Italy? Or the UK? Complete nonsense. It's again you need tanks for ground war, and it only means Russia or perhaps Serbia, but Serbia is completely that's nothing. That's so small. So effectively, Ukraine would be using them for their intended purpose, which is something that coincidentally, why does this stupid autofocus not work? Yeah. Which is something that a month or perhaps 2 ago was said by former world champion in chess, Garry Kasparov. In any case, so looking back, it is a good example that you cannot negotiate with psychopaths, deals with just people, such as the agreements about the nuclear weapons given up by Ukraine to Russia, have zero value. And hindsight is useful in that it shows which people should not be in any position of power, especially in your own country's politics, but also this how to deal with people who are like this in other countries. And by the way, a comment I saw from a propagandist was about the nukes given up by Ukraine. Yeah, they didn't have the codes, but they weren't theirs. Okay, then I can use that argument against them, which is something I always do, and it's very, very funny to do. You can just say Russia also that did not own these nuclear weapons. They were not the owners because the Soviet Union were the owners. So in a sense, you could argue, if anyone uses that argument, that Russia should give up all their nuclear weapons. They should also give up their space program, because a Ukrainian was responsible for most of it, for the push behind the original space program, namely Korolev. And he has a statue. He was born in Zhytomyr, I think. There's a statue there, or he lived there, I think he was born there. And there's a little space museum there. It's quite interesting. But you could say, well, yeah, if you want to think about things like that, who did it, who made it, to whom does it belong, then Russia should give up all their space program, because their rockets, because they didn't create it, not by themselves. Yeah, but what does this mean? So this first post that I made was about the same as this. Here I changed it slightly with the wording. Instead of psychopath, I made it psycho Merkel, but it didn't change anything. It was not visible. The other is also not visible, so I'm considering from now on YouTube as read only. This is a waste of time to do anything on this site. I will probably only respond on my own videos, and on other videos maybe short message, short comment, and just not caring whether it's published or not, whether it's visible or not to other people. Okay, that's it for now. Next video will be about another problem. Maybe I'll do the video about the funny and good videos on YouTube first, but otherwise I will do the criticism about YouTube as well, namely about big channels taking away all the views from smaller channels and more useful videos. Because the big channels are almost always just creating videos for the purpose of creating videos, to get views, which then means they get recommended by YouTube, and you get in a circle that almost all the views go to large channels, which produce low value, yeah, how do you call it? Videos that do not have a lot of interesting points, that are low effort also quite often. In any case, that's for another video. This one is already way too long. Bye.